I need my energy because today I'm doing something that I have never done before. Hi friends, strangers, internet. My name is Emily Hanhan. I love colorful makeup and colorful language. I've never done this kind of video before, so I'm stumbling over how to begin it. Basically, I'm here today to talk about how all makeup brands want your money, not just the one problematic fave that's getting the call out right now. They're all here to release more. We're all saying, stop, this is too much, this is overwhelming. But these brands are doing these things because they're working. I went back and looked at 10 different brands and their releases for 2019 for what we've seen so far and or sneak peeked for like the rest of this month. I had this inclination, but the numbers are like factual proof that what I was feeling was pretty true, and that is that the entire industry wants your money. It's not just an ABH thing. Nobody that's releasing makeup in Sephora is here to just be your friend and release interesting or creative stuff. Hopefully interesting or creative stuff comes from these brands, but the reality is that the money is the first and most important part of it. In the last couple months, the like social media makeup consumers of the world have been freaking out over how Anastasia Beverly Hills is releasing too much too fast. I think there is a lot of valid criticism in these critiques of this brand. Are there things that ABH has done in the last couple months that feel sketchy or feel weird? Absolutely. I'm not here to stan ABH and I'm not here to defend a company. No company or corporation needs personal defending. Abby Williamson just did a good video about this recently. I've been watching a lot of videos from her, from Lacey. I watched a really good video about ABH from Hot Mess Ness MUA. And the more I watched these things and the more I thought about it, I thought it's time to just make a video about it. Do I think that they've approached this like changeover or this expansion as a brand in a messy way? Yes, I do. I think that they could have done things in a way that was more clear to the consumer and more clear as a brand. Do I think that they were perhaps tied into some contractual, silence from Sephora? Yeah, I think that's a big part of it that nobody really wants to talk about, is that like, oh, they should have just told us. Maybe they couldn't. I think people have viewed ABH as like this last bastion of a brand that's not really a brand. They're people, they're cool, they're creative, they care about us. They're a business. They're here to make money. There's another part of it that has been annoying me with the ABH thing in particular, because I just see so many comments online that are like, Norvina's taking the brand, Anastasia should take it back, blah, blah, blah. She's actually been working with the company for a very long time and worked her way up. And from what I've seen with my research, and from a lot of this is from what Vanessa Hot Mess Ness said in her video, and I researched to back it up, is that a lot of the stuff that you love ABH for started with Norvina. I think they've been messy. I don't necessarily think that their expansion has been all that smart or kind of well done, but I think they're doing what they have to do as a business. Like, there have been other big mainstream brands being messy, lying to customers, doing things that are just for their bottom line and not to like take care of the customer. That's been going on for a long time. It's just that people have this weird attachment to ABH as a friend and not as a brand or business. The brands that I pulled from are mostly a range of what's available at Sephora, all in that like mid to high end price point. So some that compete directly with ABH and some that are maybe a little bit more expensive, but wanted to show you the trends that are generally happening across the board. So everybody's like, ABH always only released 4 palettes every year, 1 for each season. Okay, cool, but that's not the way makeup releases are happening these days. Even one of my new favorite smaller indie brands, Kaleidos Makeup, has released 5 palettes this year. Even Melt, the like new indie darling that's in Sephora, has released 2 stacks and 3 palettes, meaning 5 palettes in total. Like they have their 2 new holiday palettes, their radioactive palette, and 2 stacks earlier this year. They've released 5, and they're a small indie brand. So even Natasha Denona has released 6 palettes this year. She's had 2 mini palettes, which are, more affordable, but then she's had the Coral 5-pan palette, the Biba palette, the Sunrise palette, and the Metropolis palette. That's, 6 pretty expensive releases in a year. Urban Decay, which used to be kind of eyeshadow goals for a lot of people, has also released 6 palettes this year. They had their big Game of Thrones launch, they had their Naked Reloaded launch, Naked Honey, and then they've had a couple of mini On the Run palettes and a new Moon Dust palette, all coming out like for the holiday time. And then another high-end brand that's also like, to me, banging out eyeshadow palettes, and a brand that I don't even think is that, like, I don't think about this brand when I think of like high quality eyeshadows, but Charlotte Tilbury, that brand has released 7 different palettes this year. She's had 3 different expensive like $60 quads. She had an Icon palette, a smoky eye palette, her holiday like starry eyes $75 palette, and like a face and eye palette. So those are 7 also pretty expensive releases in a year. And then Huda Beauty has also had about 7 releases. Now, everything I saw with Huda was mostly her mini palette. So she had 3 of the mini neons and 3 mini nudes, and then her new Mercury Retrograde. That feels a little less obnoxious because I think the mini palettes are like a palatable price point, but that's still a lot of product if you're collecting them all. So the main reason why I was really inspired to do this video, I was going to talk about this in a new makeup releases video that I should have coming out this week, but I felt like it was a bigger topic. So Pat McGrath has another palette coming out for the holidays, and that made me realize Pat McGrath has had 7 eyeshadow palette releases this year. She's had her 2 like little mini palettes that were all metallics, and then 3 $65 quads, and then 2 of the big $125 mothership palettes. 7 palettes is pretty comparable to what ABH has released. And then a brand that surprised me, because they're another brand that I don't really think about for eyeshadow, but I guess some people do, is NARS. NARS has released 10 different palettes this year. The Inferno palette and the Hyped palette, and then there was a collaboration with artist Connor Tingsley, and then there's been 4 Voyager palettes, and a Wanted mini palette, and 2 different face and eye palettes. Like, to me, that's a lot of releases for one brand in 10 months of the year so far. Okay, another brand that it doesn't surprise me as much at the quantity, but they still are surprising, is Too Faced. Too Faced has had 10 palettes out this year too. That's from what I can see. I saw a good 6 holiday palettes, like eyeshadow palettes. There was the extra spicy and the hot buttered rum, and then like an HSN special, and then 3 other sets that were eyeshadow and like face and something else. That alone, 6 different shadow palettes for just the holidays. Is it just that Too Faced has done this for so long that we just like don't bat an eye at it? Because that is overwhelming to me. And like they all kind of look the same too, which is also always an issue with Too Faced. But along with that, they had the Natural Lust palette, which is another big one. They had a Spring Dreams one, a little Pom Poms one, and the Watermelon Tutti Frutti. Like, they've had 10 different releases. But I'm still, like, my mind is still blown that they had 6 come out for the holidays. 6 different palettes just for the holidays. How are you... What? So ABH actually lands kind of, I would say, second or third in the rankings. So I actually counted 11 releases from them because I'm counting their quads, because I found that quads were something that were popping up along other brands. So if I count the quads, They've had 11 releases this year. If you're separating the two brands, like kind of ABH and Norvina, then they've had 6 ABH releases and 5 Norvina releases. But the way they've kind of blurred the lines between the Norvina brand and the ABH brand, like I still think of them as the same brand in my head. So, okay, they've had 11 releases this year. Compared to 4 eyeshadow palette releases last year, that's a difference, that's a change, but it's not that different from everything else that's happening in the industry. And then number 1 on this list of eyeshadow palette releases kind of surprised me, but it didn't at the same time, and that is Tarte. Tarte has had 17 eyeshadow palettes come out in 2019. Even if you separate Sugar Rush out from Tarte, because I kind of think Sugar Rush and Tarte is kind of what Norvina and ABH were trying to do in some ways. So Sugar Rush has had 3 eyeshadow palettes come out, but main Tarte brand still has had 14 eyeshadows come out this year. They had Icy Betch, they had the Adeline Moran collab. Actually, they might have had more. Maybe instead of, no, I think they had 18 palettes because they had Adeline Moran, and then they had that fitness person that I don't remember her name. There were 3 Rainforest of the Sea foil trios. There was that rainbow palette, which was also a collab. There was the High Tides and Good Vibes palette with the pressed glitters. There was the Unleashed kind of palette that looked like it was like animal themed, and a fall feel palette, a quad of foil finger paint things that came out for the holidays, and then 4 other holiday sets that had some combination of face and eye palettes. And some of those holiday sets had multiple palettes within them. So if you broke that out even further, like they would go from having 18 palettes released to about 22 to 24. Okay, so besides the headache that I get from thinking about all of these products and how much repetition and how much shit is out there, I think the thing that I'm trying to get to with all of this is, if your goal with makeup is to own everything from a brand or everything from multiple brands, the makeup industry is no longer producing in a way that that's sustainable for anyone besides the like uber rich. So as a consumer, you can no longer live by this like goal of just buying everything and that being reasonable and sustainable for you. I'm pretty sure Raw Beauty Christie talked about this, where it's like, we're mad at these brands for releasing so much, but I think that really comes from the idea of we want to have it all. And so we're mad at these brands for releasing so much because we can't reasonably have it all in the time that they're releasing them. We have to stop looking at makeup releases as like gotta catch them all. You have to start shopping with your brain, and this sounds so corny, but also with your heart. Like there are plenty of makeup products that I can look at and be like, in my brain I'm like, that's pretty, that's nice, the quality seems good, I would love to have that. But in my heart, I might just be like, it's fine. I want to buy the stuff that like my brain goes like, oh, that's all good quality, and my heart also goes, fuck yeah, I want that, I want it. You can no longer just trust that the market is going to regulate itself and approach us with a reasonable amount of product. That is out the window. If you're a human that has a budget or bills and responsibilities, or even as a younger person, an allowance, like at some point in time you have an in amount of money where you can no longer buy makeup or clothes or food or whatever it is. You can no longer assume that you can own everything a brand is releasing, and also that everything that a brand is releasing is worth having. All of these brands that I mentioned are all worth criticism. So I'm not here to say that, criticizing ABH is not valid, or criticizing XYZ brand is not valid. I'm here to say it is valid. Criticize them, but also criticize everybody. Like spread your criticism around. Make sure that multiple businesses understand that this shit is not cool. For me, I just have to like take a step back with releases and say, like, do I actually want it? Do I want it because a friend of mine talked about it or an influencer that I follow talked about it? Or do I want it because I actually have some interest in the stuff that's in there? Basically, I just want to say that, like, you have to have a critical eye with your shopping. I am a huge proponent of voting with your dollar. Like, I think that there are lots and lots of issues with capitalism as a whole, and I think that realistically there's no ethical consumption under capitalism, but I think you can vote with your dollar. You can decide to spend your money in a brand that does inspire you or doesn't overwhelm you or, you know, has you interested for what's next from them. You don't have to buy what the influencers are telling you is, oh my god, so good, so pigmented, so whatever. Like, buy what you find interesting. Buy what your heart calls out for you to buy. And also, like, buy what's in your budget. No, no, no brand or corporation is worth more than your value, your bills, your rent, your, utilities. No brand is worth you going into debt. And all of these brands are going to continue to release at the rate that they do because they don't give a fuck about your bills and your responsibilities. They care about their bottom line. And you can't live your life just assuming that these brands are always releasing something that's high quality and worth the dollar and gotta get it now. And it's definitely limited edition and it's never coming back. These brands are going to lie to you. They're all going to lie to you. They're all going to deceive you. So I guess this all comes down to, like, you have to just be a smarter consumer. No mainstream brand out there values you as the consumer more than they value their own pockets. So vice versa, you as the consumer should not value any brand more than you value yourself and your day-to-day needs. A pallet can wait. You deserve to have food, pay your utilities, pay your rent or your mortgage over getting the newest collaboration. And I hope maybe this is helpful also in the midst of the VIB sale. If you can afford it and you figured out how to budget it in, or you have the spending money or you have the gift cards, I'm not here to stop you from buying makeup. Hell, I buy it a lot. I buy too much of it. But I am just trying to remind you that these corporations are not people. They don't care about you as a person. You shouldn't care about them as a person. Spend how you want. But just don't let some billionaire CEO make you feel guilty for not getting their newest release, because they'll be just fucking fine. I think that's all for today. If you watched this video and you enjoyed it, feel free to give me a thumbs up. If you are not subscribed and you would like to follow along with my colorful shenanigans, definitely subscribe to my channel. I would so appreciate it. And thank you for spending a bit of your day with me. I hope to see you again real soon. Bye, friends.